And so Renuka is from the very southern part of India, right?
I've been here since I was a child.
You said. So what language did you speak? You said you came to England when you were 16. So what language did you speak in
My first language was in English because I was sent to top private schools there where English is the medium.
Oh, I see. Right. Mm. Great. Well, you said you knew some Vedic astrology, but not much Western astrology.
No.
Okay, so this is Renuka's horoscope. And actually, if you're into Vedic astrology, it doesn't change a lot. You know, they have this Ayanamsa in Vedic astrology where you generally, you take 23 degrees off. But as most of the planets and the ascendant in Renuka's chart after 23 degrees, the sun's at 29, the ascendant's at 27, the moon's at 27. They're all in the same signs in Vedic and Western astrology. But that's about the only similarity, I would say. Also, one of the things I'm a little curious about is the birth time, because it's like middle of the night in southern India, 2:30 a.m. And if she was born a little bit earlier, you know, her midheaven would be in. So, do you think the time's accurate?
Several astrologers have confirmed that in India. And
right, okay.
English astrologers here.
So, one of the things that, well, if this is the case, you see that it's really important because at the moment, I'm sure all the astrologers are attending, because we'll be able to see that the current Saturn-Neptune conjunction is on your fourth house cusp. And I'll talk about that in a minute. The other thing I wanted to mention was, you know, if you'd have been born half an hour later in Western astrology, your sun would have been in Pisces. And the whole thing about this horoscope is like what I call a sort of borderline horoscope. You kind of got one foot in one area and another foot in the other area. And so I think, you know, that because you moved from India to Britain, you know, that you have this kind of sort of existential kind of feeling, you know, as you kind of have to juggle your consciousness between two different cultures. And so I could start with that, although it's probably the most difficult bit. And that's because the other thing that's really important right now is that Uranus has been exactly square your sun and square Pluto. So that's what I'm going to talk about now. And that there's certain existential issues that are coming up, like, you know, well, we'll find out what they are, I guess, in a minute. You know, normally you get with the sun Pluto from the 3rd to the 9th, you get thoughts about the meaning of life, you know, and what's the point of your life. You're 69 now, you know, so you kind of thinking about like, you know, what's the meaning of it all. That's one thing I kind of figure with this. And the second thing I think is that whatever you're doing, your home base and your career situation is in a state of flux. Is that true or is it not particularly true?
Because I had a fractured patella, so I still carried on teaching and lecturing, but it was very painful for me. So I had to finish my contract and I resigned. So I've just been doing voluntary research after that and some teaching, but I don't do any teaching now. I just want to relax.
And I forgot to say, you're a doctor or something, right?
Yes, I'm a doctor, yes.
Like a doctor.
PhD in economics, that's what I was teaching.
So because of this situation, I couldn't quite get what the health problem was.
I fractured my patella. I fell and fractured my patella, but I still carried on working. But because I had to sign a contract, I had to finish the contract. After that, I resigned because it's too painful for me to travel.
What is the patella?
Kneecap. I was in hospital for 3 weeks.
So, and when did that happen? You fractured?
2017, 29th of September.
Oh, it's a long time ago. Right, yeah, but I'm thinking that
working when I could, straight after, but it was very painful.
When did you actually resign?
I think it was 2019 when my contract, when the term finishes. I was to sign up for the contract for the term because they don't want to have lecturers changing, you know. So
So why am I seeing sort of this change and stress right now? You know, like not 7 years ago, but in 2025, 26.
Oh, between which month?
I guess it would have been around July, but the whole period until April. So the whole period from July last year to April this year is a kind of,
Yeah, we're in March now. But yes, my daughter gave birth to a baby, and I'm sad because I miss the baby, of course, because it's hard.
and where is your daughter?
She's 2 hours away, but she's always busy with her child, and I want to go and see her, but she knows it'll be painful for me with the pain on my knees, to travel that far. And I can't drive that far, and I have to take public transport. But she doesn't want me to come. She keeps promising she will come, but obviously I know they're busy with the baby. So yeah, that's sad because I always like children, especially my own grandchildren.
And how many kids have you got?
I've got 2 kids. One's in America and he has a baby as well. So I don't see them often. Obviously, they're far away. I go there every year almost. He comes here on business trip. That's when I see them. Just few days in a year. They're very busy. They both have busy lives, And so it's hard for me to see them.
For the people looking, I put up 2 horoscopes here, and one is the birth chart is on the left, and the other one on the right is like the chart for this very moment in London. I think in India you'd call that a Nadi horoscope. It's the horoscope for here and now.
Yeah.
And one of the things I notice about it, which I don't understand yet, is from the 3rd to the 9th house, there's an exact opposition. One from the Sun to Pluto and the other from Moon to Venus, and then it, there's a kind of same kind of trine pattern as well. So I'm going to try and understand that. And so far, I'm not doing very well. So here comes the first killer question. Your horoscope kind of shows a breaking of communication. It's like now, of course, when you came to Britain, there was a break of communication with your roots in India, I guess, right? Did you then, and maybe to be more specific, normally this is also a kind of break in communication with the father. So, did you experience the sort of disappearance of your father at any particular point?
I mean, he's just like any other father. He was very busy with his work. So, and we were at school. I was more in touch with my mom. Obviously, she didn't work. She was always looking after us and the family.
To Britain, your father?
Yeah. He moved first. He moved about a year ago with my younger brother, and then my mother moved after about 8 months or so to join them. And then me and my sister were at the boarding school or something.
Okay, so you were at boarding school in southern India.
Sorry?
Is that correct? You were at boarding school in southern India?
And then I wanted to go as well because my younger sister, she wasn't doing well. She didn't want to stay at the boarding school, so she stayed with my mother's sister, and she wasn't happy there. So they wanted to bring her to London. But I thought I'll be on my own. I said, I want to come too. So I then came. We both came.
It sounds kind of peaceful, but the horoscope shows a kind of uprooting.
Oh, yes, of course, I had to uproot. My mother lamented. I was always top of the class, and obviously going from Mumbai. I was in Mumbai before. We had to go to southern India where my grandmother is, but it's not close to the boarding school. So, when you move schools, I think they move you one standard, you call it standard there. And I didn't like that.
Like what specifically?
Like they move you one standard, like I left when I was in the 9th standard in Mumbai. So they will make you go into the same 9th standard again, which I didn't like because I already did it because it's a different school.
How old were you then?
About 15.
Okay. And the fact that you didn't like it, what did you do about it?
I can't do anything. I'm just a child. I mean, that's what they told my father who took us for the admission. This is a common practice all over India. They don't recognize the other schools, I suppose, and then lower you. It's not like university degrees, which is universal.
But this lack of recognition, this feeling of being a lack of recognition. Yeah, I mean, they didn't recognize your intellectual capacity, right?
Oh, that wasn't the case, no. But they made me and my sister go do the same standard again. We were in the 9th. I left when I finished the 9th standard in Mumbai because it's a different school. This was a central school I was going.
How did you feel about that, that you had to do?
Very upset. I worked so hard, and then, to always be top of the class, and now I have to redo. I didn't like that. Oh, their reasoning was that that school, I was in Mumbai, the top school there, had 12th standard, whereas this one only had 11th standard. So that's why they're saying I'm not losing anything, but I didn't like it.
Yeah, one of the things I notice about talking to you is that I don't know how to explain this. It's like we immediately got into this situation where it was not very fair. You weren't recognized in in school. You weren't recognized for you wanted to be absolutely the top of it, but you weren't recognized, and you had to be in a kind of situation which was frustrating for you. Do you know what I mean?
The recognition is there. Their argument was that
I'm thinking that you often get into pretty intense discussions.
well, being a lecturer,
And who do you find yourself? I mean, is there any controversies that happen in your lecturing sort of circle, like other controversies that you get involved with?
what do you precisely mean by controversy?
Yes. And what do I mean? I mean that you meet people who really disagree with you and that you have to forcefully argue for your point of view often. That's what I'm thinking.
Not often, no.
Occasionally, but
We just get on with our research or teaching,
Ah,
we're very
all right.
busy. Yeah, somebody will knock on my door saying, I want to pick your brain, we're all very independent doing our own thing.
I'm absolutely sure that your capacity, your intellectual capacity is and your research abilities are fantastic.
Yes.
Okay, so and is your father still alive?
No, he passed away in 1999.
Okay.
I wasn't close to him, but later on, I was very close because he had cancer, and I did all the research I could to help him from here.
Mhm.
I tried to take him to the world's expert consultant here. I did as much as I could from here, and he was receiving good treatment there too. Yeah, but I wasn't very close to my father before that.
And you married, and are you still with your husband?
Oh, no, I divorced in 89. I wanted the separation and divorce.
So that was after you had two kids together. Divorced.
Yeah. I divorced, after about 7 years, yes.
All right.
I haven't married yet.
Did you get into, battle, any kind of battle? Yeah, it would also be intellectually, any sort of battles of power with your ex-husband, like you disagreed forcefully about things.
No, it's just that we were very different. He didn't want intellectual conversations, which I want, and he was more into football. And there were differences, value differences as well. I come from a family who are highly educated, and for me, education is very important. But to him, he didn't come from that kind of family. So for him, he didn't value education as much as I did, or hardly. He was more into football. Yeah,
So the English football?
Yes, of course, he supported Birmingham City at the time, but then said he switched
Okay, all right.
from Birmingham.
So you're not really a football supporter yourself then?
No. I like intellectual conversations, but that I wasn't able to have with him because he wasn't keen on that. He was just keen on football.
Right.
Yeah, so there were value differences. And
Right. So listen, do I call you Ren or Renuka?
they call me Ran, yes, yeah.
Now that we're here and, we've spoken for 20 minutes and I've been kind of wandering around, is there any specific questions that you'd like to have the answer to? Because maybe I'll do better at that. The things that are going on right now, for example, I can see the problem with the communication with your daughter and maybe even your son,
Son is fine. He messages every day. We message each other.
Right. And isn't it true that you feel like there's a lot of love between you, so to speak?
Well, between my son and our daughter.
And your daughter, right?
There's a lot of love.
Yeah.
They love me a lot. And I love them more than me. But they're far away. I'm in constant touch with my son. But I don't hear much from my daughter. She is coming on Sunday to celebrate my belated birthday because I was away on my birthday.
Oh. So I think that the circumstances where there's a distance between you and your children, I think that's a fact of life at the moment. So there's not a lot you can do about it, but there's still, because of different communication means like Zoom and everything, I think that, you can always keep the communication going, but you have to accept this kind of distance between you.
Oh, my son is more like me, very loving. We always communicate all the time, like 6 or 7 times through messaging. Sometimes you video me with the kid, with the baby. So I have more contact with him than my daughter. Yes, maybe she's very busy, but she's always been like that. I've never had much contact with her. She said, "Oh, Mom, is it okay if I come and see you?" I said, "Yeah, fine. You can come anytime. You don't need to ask, I just see her sometimes, few days in a year. It's like now,
Okay.
come and visit me occasionally.
So the other thing I think is like amazing about your current situation, and this is going to be difficult to explain. It's good, but it shows a kind of incredible, a really deep spiritual sensitivity. Now I'm wondering where that comes from. It's like it shows a kind of kind and empathetic nature with a very deep understanding and attunement to other people. And that's a source of great pleasure for you and also for people you're in contact with. It seems to me to be like a really deeply spiritual thing, though. Do you practice some spiritual thing?
Yeah, but I do think there is a spirit. I firmly believe that there is a spirit, a spiritual being.
And would that be like, I mean, like I suppose you're brought up a little bit like Hindu or,
Yes, yes.
yeah. And you still subscribe to Hindu beliefs? So to speak?
I respect all religions, but I think that there is a spiritual being, rather than.
Because one of the things I thought in your chart was that you would have belief systems which kind of crash and burn, and you'd replace them with other beliefs. In other words, you kind of believe something really strongly, and then you drop it and move on. Is that true?
No, it's just that, sometimes you get these people, monks and things, trying to brainwash you. I don't know if that's the right word, saying their religion's the best. Always.
What monks are these then?
It's Krishna, the Krishna people, the Hare Rama, Hare Krishna people.
Those people.
Well, they're just nearby, and I like to go to temple because whenever I go to India to see my mom, but she always used to go to temple, so I just follow what she used to do.
So do you go to the Krishna temple and that?
Yeah, because they speak English, whereas the other temples, they speak in their own language, and I don't understand. It's just that I like the company, I like the people. They seem to be empathetic like me. So I like the people, their behavior. I like to keep, company.
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
people.
But I think that's a really, really good connection for you.
Yeah.
The temple and the spiritual group that you're part of. I
Yes,
think that's like a source of incredible riches, actually.
yes, I volunteer, do their book distribution and things. I volunteer as well.
All
They're
right.
doing a good thing. I think they're doing a good thing for humanity, trying to make people, believe in, behaving well.
And there's another thing I just wanted to check, this deeply spiritual nature, which you obviously have. And, I think it's like really genuine, deep, and empathetic, etc. So that's the source of happiness. But there's another thing I was wondering, and I don't quite know what it means. It's like there's some connection, an important connection for you, who is going to come to, you're going to meet this person. I'm just wondering who the heck it is. There's a meeting arising pretty soon for you. It's a good meeting. It might be a friend that joins up with you, or it might be something else. It might just be an economic good fortune. There's some really good fortune on the way. Have you any idea what that might be?
And always wanting to meet me and things. Conference, which I go every year. Economic conference. Or it just, you ask me what I'd like. I'd like is a permanent, sort of viable, happy second relationship.
Oh, sorry. Your voice is breaking up a bit there.
Oh, so yes.
Can you repeat?
Yeah, you asked me what question I had. The question I had was if I'll ever have another happy,
Right. I like that
long-term
question. Yeah.
who is similar character to me. That's very important. As you know, I'm very empathetic, very kind, very compassionate.
Yeah.
That's important.
So is there somebody that, I mean, I think it's quite good for relationships now, you see. So yeah, I think the answer is yes, that, a relationship will take place. And that's like, for those astrologers kind of checking this out. The reason I think that is that I put the progressed horoscope on the right here. Venus is at 12 Taurus and Mars is at 13 Taurus. So Venus has traveled all this way, it's going to arrive at Mars, right? So I'll try and put that in ordinary language. Yeah, so within a year, you're going to, there's going to be a very deep encounter with some kind of guy. But actually, you like people who like football.
No, I don't like people who like football.
Well, I'm afraid that that's what you're going to meet, right?
Oh.
So I mean, I'm not saying it likes football, but because Venus comes on Mars in Taurus, you see Mars in your horoscope represents men who sit there with a glass of wine and watch TV and generally have a kind of relaxed time, they're sort of lazy sometimes, right? I mean, that's the kind of guy that turns up in your life, There's actually an attraction to that sort of type of person more than there is to a intellectual type of person. It's also quite good for intellectual types of people. But anyway, next year, the kind of person you might meet is somebody who actually wants physical relationship, like a sexual relationship. I mean, that's going to be more important than an intellectual relationship.
Yeah, I like a partner who is intellectual, like in our conversations, intellectual conversations, but as long as they have good character, empathetic, compassionate, and kindness. So I can overlook that their deficiency in the intellectual field, education.
But do they have to have good character? Like you've got a good character, so you've got a good character, right? I mean, so you could afford to hitch up with a man who maybe has some character flaws,
Well, that means it'll be at my expense. I mean, I don't want them to be rude to me or unkind to me because I'm always very kind and compassionate and empathetic.
Well, what if they're they're in pain for some reason or another?
Oh, well, of course I'll show compassion. I mean, I'll be very empathetic. I always like to help people.
And the reason I was saying that, by the way, for people who look at it's because Mars in Ren's horoscope is exactly square Chiron. You can see it there. That's actually a Mars that suffers, men that suffer, and Venus progress comes on Mars. So it's going to activate the Mars Chiron square. So, I think that might mean that the person you relate to does have sort of some kind of existential pain, which you might have to use all that incredible surplus of compassion that you have, So that will be like, I think, the conditions for a good relationship.
Yes, very empathetic. Always put everybody else before me, And yeah.
And you might have to do that next year if you meet this kind of.
I always do it on a daily basis to everybody,
Yeah.
When you said I'll meet somebody soon, is it this year or next year?
This year, it'll be 16, about the summer of next year. And that's because the progressed moon is going to activate the Venus Mars at that particular time. So that's going to be actually quite good for a sort of a strong physical attraction, I would say.
There are some people in the background asking to meet me, but I don't know about their character and things. I'm saying.
Well, the character's not going to be as good as your character.
Like they seem to want to have quick physical relationship. I haven't even met them, like they want to stay in a hotel after that. I said, no, I'm not going to do that.
Well, this situation that's going to arise, it's more like an evolution, it's like part of destiny. So I don't think it's like so casual as you're kind of saying, but I'm just saying that the guy himself, would be wanting a physical relationship and may have his problems and you can help.
Yes, but is that a long-term relationship, marriage?
Well, it could be. Yeah, it could.
Yes, I'm seeing somebody this Saturday, but I saw him last week as well. But I don't know again, I'm just finding out about him. But I don't seem very keen because he seemed to be, wanting more physical relationship with me. I want to have a sort of friendship first.
I think somebody you've had, somebody who's already made some kind of contact will recontact you. I think that's going to go quite well. Another possibility is that a friend or a group that you're a part of can be like facilitate a meeting with somebody. And I would think this is something that happens much sooner than next year. So,
Yes, I only belong to this women's group where we do yogas and everything else. So it's just women there, the group I am in. Yogas, kickboxing, martial arts and everything else, sewing, crafts, everything. But so it's all women. So I don't belong
yeah,
to.
but women, they know men, don't they?
Well,
I mean, they might make an introduction.
well, I don't know. A lot of them are older than me, or some are my
Mm.
age, just be years younger.
Anyway, so that was my answer to the relationship thing. I think there should be a relationship, and it should be intense and passionate, not just intellectual.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. Yes. As long as it's a happy, happy relationship, that's all that matters in long term.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he be happy, may I ask?
I don't know. Maybe he's got health problems or something like that.
Oh, well, I'll be there to help. I'm always.
Okay. Is there anything else that's interesting for you?
No, because I can't, I don't know your chart. So yes, it's nice to hear all your comments.
I think this is a bit of a chaotic period where it's a kind of transitional kind of situation. So it's difficult to kind of establish your roots or difficult to know what to do. And also, I think mentally it's a slightly stressful period. And I think that there's a kind of these conditions are because of your health, the way you can't connect so easily with your children. It's like the situation as it is, difficult to change. But because of your incredible emotional and spiritual resilience, life is going to be good, and you're heading towards good fortune too. In fact, if you expect to get some money somewhere, that would also be good. It looks a very, very fortunate period, apart from the destabilization of certain of your foundations right now.
May I ask what is the destabilization of the foundation? What do you precisely mean?
Because so the thing is, if you're not feeling this, the destabilization of the foundations, then your birth time isn't correct. So it's a bit like a new era. I mean, it's big. It's a new era where your whole home situation changes because of kind of uncertainty around what's going on. Are you living in a house or a flat?
Oh, yeah, this is my house. I bought this 42 years ago.
All right. So the kind of things that might happen would actually affect the foundations of the house as well. So are there any problems at all with the cellar or damp?
I don't ever want to sell this house.
I'm just trying to find out what's this destabilization, and I'm not doing very well. So what did you tell me yourself? Is everything just the same? It's been like that for the last year. There's no feeling of things changing.
No, obviously, I want to be in a long-term relationship or a happy marriage, and I haven't found the right person.
Well, that's it. And are you still teaching?
No, I haven't.
Tired?
Yeah, because after I broke my leg, I was still teaching and I was in pain. But then after the contract finished, I resigned.
What do you do with your time?
I sort of read, go to seminars, conferences nearby, listen to lectures, do some writing. I try and do some research when time permitting. To run a house, run a car.
And your family in India, is that?
No, my mother is in the US with my sister.
And that's the same. There's no changes happening there either.
No, she lives there.
Okay. I mean, it does seem to indicate that the birth time isn't correct, actually, but
No,
I could be wrong.
We agreed on the radio. There was an astrology program. And my mother initially didn't know the correct time, but they rectified it. And they said it is 2:30 a.m. So when I went to see my mom, shortly afterwards, she said, yes, it is 2:30 a.m.
All right. Well, I cannot further identify the destabilization, so I give up. Right. And maybe we should wrap it up.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'm just going to make some general comments. And if anybody wants to say anything, they can raise their hand or something like that. So this is like this consultation was a difficult one for me. And I've never really got to the bottom of the Sun Pluto opposition. apart from the fact that I guess it's like, it's very, that Ren is a very, this research gene that she's got is incredibly intense, and she gives herself 200% to that. I'm sure of that. And it's possible that the moon, which is trine the sun and the Pluto, it kind of deflects some of the issues of that. Because generally with the sun, Pluto, there's a complete alienation from the father, but the moon here would actually make it kind of, maybe the mother relationship would be quite good. As regards the men in her life, Mars is square Venus, and that's Mars in Taurus in the 5th house is this football-loving ex-husband. It's I guess, I mean, it's a little bit like that, and the character of Mars in Taurus is generally seems to be probably a projection, but it seems to be kind of, weak, materialistic, pleasure-loving, that, which would clash with Ren's kind of intellectual kind of needs. And one of the things that you don't see in this birth chart so easily, I mean, maybe it's there because of the Sun-Pluto opposition, with Pluto in the 9th and Jupiter on the MC. That's really fantastic. What you don't really see is this spiritual depth. And actually, the consultation chart is a tremendous chart for show, and you can always rely on the consultation chart. It never lies. For some reason, certainly at this particular moment in time, Ren has this, she's the ascendant ruler is the sun. It's in Pisces in the 8th house. This shows this empathetic person, very, very sensitive. It seems like in contrast to the birth chart, the trine to Jupiter is like in exalted, which rules the sun. It shows, this deep natural spiritual nature. It comes probably with the Indian heritage, and also the connection with the temple down the road. That's the Jupiter. And because the sun's trine Jupiter, that's really, really great. Couldn't be better, hardly. The separation from the daughter, and that is the Moon-Venus opposition. Even though it's only a few miles, it's like a long way. It feels like a long way. The possibility of a relationship, apart from the progress chart, it could be this Mercury is retrograde. It's going to come on the sun, and it's going to trine Jupiter. And that's like really good news. Mercury's weak, so that's not so good, but it's trine Jupiter, which is great. So that could be a friend, sort of bonding, or it could be a partner that kind of relates, reconnects. It's somebody that reconnects because Mercury is retrograde, and that can't go wrong, really. Basically, it can't really go wrong currently for reconnecting with people and trying out relationships. Of course, it would be nice if the sun was aspecting Saturn, because Saturn is the 7th house ruler. That would be partners, but it is aspecting Jupiter, which is the 5th house ruler, which is good for lovers. So, this is good for romance. And really, Ren shouldn't really hesitate very much. Just kind of see what happens, because that looks really great. And that's about what I've got to say. I don't know if anyone's got any questions, or if I can somehow. Maybe I can't hear anybody.
Adrian?
Yeah.
There's something in the chat. I think somebody's put a message in the chat.
Oh, let me look at chat. This is Robin. Isn't not being able to get to the bottom of the Sun-Pluto opposition evidence of a Sun-Pluto opposition? That's so true. It's so true. And I tried to get at it indirectly, because I noticed that Renuka got into this mode of discussion, like it's what she's used to doing, and so I thought I could get at it like by pointing out that discussions can become very overwhelming. And in part, when she talks about the intellectual partnerships, she's going to be the dominant person in there, and the other person's going to fall through. And there's a much, much deeper psychological issue involved, which was probably connected with all the schooling, which I couldn't get to the bottom of either, But the schooling, it did emphasize this feeling that she wasn't getting recognition for her genius, and that would also be the Sun-Pluto opposition. I mean, she's obviously extremely
A
skill.
lot of people do the same thing, and I didn't agree. And also, I missed my friends, from Mumbai.
Yeah.
Missed them, and I still do because I
Yes.
was playing with them and everything, going to
Yeah.
school.
And that's another theme which we didn't get into, because that missing the friends thing is the moon Neptune square Uranus, so the whole thing about always or constantly getting separated from friends is a source of sorrow. Okay. So I think that's about it. Yeah. So next time we have somebody from Denmark, actually, who's about 50, I think. So that'll be on the 1st of April. Thanks very much, everybody, for attending. And I'll actually be sending a link to this where it goes up on video. Thanks a lot, Ren.
Thank you.